This is the second part of a two-part series on improving your streaming uptime with monitoring and alerting. The first one had to do with redundancy. I think we did that, I believe, about a month ago, I believe, right? Okay. This was the second part of that, and what we're going to be talking about here. So today we're going to be focusing on 5 areas we believe would be crucial to giving an audience the best possible listener experience. And I guess with that, we'll just, we're going to move on. This is very entertaining here. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Anyway, last time we talked about what causes downtime, and we went through the streaming signal chain shown here at a high level, identifying ways we can add redundancy and avoid single points of failure. That's a proactive approach for improving uptime. Unfortunately, as content producers, you'll still get pulled into reactive problem solving when unexpected issues come up. And this is where monitoring and alerting are critical. As we talked about last time, a month ago, there are different ways your streams can be down or malfunctioning. In today's webinar, StreamGuys will be focusing on the 5 areas of monitoring. This will include offline streams, silent streams, metadata issues, QoS content monitoring, and network monitoring. We'll be getting into each of these in a little more detail over the next few minutes. Okay. If your encoder is not connected to the CDN, or your streaming service is having issues, your audience will get an offline stream. This can show up as HTTP codes 404 or 500. It can also show up as a timeout if the streaming service is not responding at all. To detect these, monitoring service will check if the stream is available via HTTP or HTTPS. This is often a check every 5 minutes or every 1 minute to make sure the stream is responding with the expected 200 HTTP response code. If you get something besides that, then an alert is sent out indicating the stream's down. Now, best practice is to have all client-facing alerting be actionable. So there's usually a retry period to make sure the stream is actually down before sending out an alert. So why do you want that? Well, excessive false positives cause alert fatigue and reduce the engineer's trust of the alerts. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. We can also monitor streams in bulk using the streaming server's status pages, which self-report if the stream's up. This is nice because it avoids the additional traffic and log entries from the monitoring service touching each stream, but doesn't actually check that each stream is responding with 200s. StreamGuys tools for offline stream monitoring are SG Alerts and Is My Stream Up? SG Alerts are StreamGuys managed and ISMU is self-managed. Here we have a screenshot of Is My Streams Up availability monitoring. It's a 5-minute interval check for that specific stream. The service will check the stream itself, then send alerts to a contact group if one has been configured. It includes information about the last response code and the time it took to get a response. When issues occur, we record that information in Is My Stream Up's reports. Silent streams are very similar to offline streams for the user experience, but they're usually caused by production issues in your signal chain upstream from the encoder. To detect silence, we must analyze the audio itself and determine if it's below a certain threshold. A moment of silence can occur in programming, so it's important to maintain a safe time threshold to make sure you're not getting false positives. We usually want to send alerts when there's action to be taken. Is My Stream Up also has silence monitoring capabilities. You configure the loudness and duration for each stream. If the stream goes below that loudness for the duration, that stream's contact group will get email or SMS notifications. Here we have a screenshot of Is My Streams Up silence monitors. They're similar to the previous example, but have the configurable loudness and duration settings. Metadata is the text payload that goes with your stream. It's often program data like song, artist, album, or name of the program if it's a talk show. You also get some data that's sent for operational purposes like ISRC code or for royalty reporting or ad triggers for dynamic ad insertion. We might also get start and stop triggers for automated recording or blackout metadata triggers for sporting events. You can see that there's a lot riding on your metadata. And since metadata issues aren't usually as annoying to your users as the downstream, it might take longer for you to hear about them. That's why it's critical to have metadata monitoring. Metadata monitoring can tell you if your metadata has not changed in a configured interval. For example, if your longest metadata payload is expected to be 55 minutes, then you can get an alert if your metadata doesn't change within 60 minutes. This all lives within our SG metadata product. The alerting settings for SG metadata are shown here. You can see we have the option for alerting on the presence or absence of specific metadata, as well as no change over a period of time. To get a sense of what metadata was sent with what audio, SG recasts audio loggers can help. And we'll cover those in the next slide. Sometimes you need to go back and hear what happened on air or on stream. Getting an unexpected silence alert is a really good example. If you don't know what happened, you can at least go back and verify that silence was in fact transmitted. If listeners are complaining about bad audio quality or other audio issues at a specific time, you can go back and hear what was streamed. And if listeners are complaining about bad metadata timing, you can go look at where the metadata was compared to the audio. All of these are tough to verify and troubleshoot without a record of what was streamed. This is where content QoS monitoring comes in. Our tool for this is SG Recast's audio loggers or scheduled recordings. They record your stream 24/7, and you can go back anytime to hear what was streamed. With audio loggers, you can visualize where the metadata triggers were in comparison to the audio. You can make clips or for long-term storage or even publishing. You can set tight retention policies or configure long-term storage solutions to keep years of data. Here, you can see a screenshot of 5 minutes of audio and the metadata payloads that were sent with it. This is a rolling recording of your stream and the associated metadata. It's searchable and clippable if you need to find specific content and save clips of it. Finally, we're going to get to network monitoring. We think this is the most underutilized monitoring tool for live broadcasters. If you take away one thing from this, it should be that for many of you, streaming is a critical delivery medium for your audience. If you care about streaming, you should be monitoring the network conditions between you and your CDN. This stream down alerting and log analysis will show that an encoder disconnected, but it won't tell you why. Sometimes it's obvious and you know what the issue was. Then there are times it's not obvious. Why is important? Because it points you in the right direction for solving the issues. Network monitoring gives you a real-time and historical view of network conditions between your encoder and the CDN. If network issues occur in your building, your ISP, your CDN, or between you and your CDN, you'll be able to quickly identify where the issue was and get the needed evidence to the responsible parties. Your CDN likely has monitoring for their network, but issues can occur in your corporate network or between you and your CDN that won't be visible unless the round trip path is monitored. The network monitoring tool we sell and support for this is PingPlotter Cloud. We use it for our internal operations, and we recommend it to our clients as well. If you order PingPlotter Cloud from us, we give you a pre-configured agent to install on or next to your encoders. Then we'll run one from our side as well. This allows for monitoring of all encoder network paths bidirectionally. You get a link to see the data populating in real time. If any issues occur, you and StreamGuys would be able to look at the data together and determine next steps. Here's a screenshot of PingPlotter live view. You can see the latency and packet loss at each hop between the encoder and StreamGuys. This helps us analyze your routes to StreamGuys and vice versa. Packet loss is the biggest threat to streaming and is shown with red bars at the bottom here. You can see some packet loss has occurred between 8:35 a.m. and 8:40 a.m. Our systems administrators would provide analysis and feedback on all of this data for you. Here's a diagram showing the network monitoring signal flow. It's a little different between software encoders and an encoding appliance. Software encoders are represented on the top. The PingPlotter Cloud agent is a pre-configured installation provided by StreamGuys. You would install it on the encoding PC. We would run another one from our origin to your public IP. If you use a hardware encoder, you would run the PingPlotter agent from a different computer within your network. It should always be run on the same network as your encoder. In this case, we'd still run a reverse trace on your public IP address. These diagrams are simplified to show a single encoder and a single origin, but we suggest doing this for each encoding location and each origin whose encoders push to. If you source 10 streams out of a single facility, that still just needs one agent because the 10 streams are going out via the same network path. The goal of monitoring and alerting is to quickly detect issues and notify people who can fix them. Best practices work towards those goals. You should monitor the mission-critical functions your audience relies on. In the streaming workflow, that includes whether a stream is up or not, whether it has audio or silent, whether your metadata is coming through and your network conditions are good. Knowing if there's a problem with any of these is definitely helpful. Next, we want to eliminate the noise, so you're only notified when there's something to do. That means adjusting or removing alerts that are not being helpful. That might include blacklisting test streams automatically being picked up in the SG alerts. Silence monitoring often must be tuned to the right loudness and duration. So if you're getting false positives, you can extend the duration and lower the loudness settings. If you experience regular ISP issues, use the alerts and the network monitoring to try and sort the issues out with your ISP instead of reducing the alert load. You can monitor a stream's presence across multiple origins and edges. For availability alerting and silence monitoring, we recommend at least monitoring your streams on origins and the load balanced URL. So why is this? Well, if your encoder is down on one origin, then you've lost your redundancy, which we talked about last time. And you're going to want to restore that as soon as possible. If you have issues on the load balanced URL, then your listeners are having those same issues as well. It's possible for a stream to be up on origins and down at the public URL, though. So that's why it's nice to monitor the load balanced URL. That's what we mean by user perspective. You're actually checking the stream at the perspective of your users. Network monitoring should be bidirectional between your encoders and origins. You want to monitor all encoder network paths in both directions. This gives you visibility into issues users would potentially have, as well as any issues with your encoder connecting to the CDN. Monitoring and alerting services often make requests of your stream itself. That means they'll show up in log files. Log files are used to generate reports and analytics. If your organization is a heavy analytics user, you should know the IPs and or user agent of these monitoring services and decide if you want them in your analytics or not. We also want to make sure the right person gets those alerts. If they don't, the alerts aren't timely and actionable. Turnover happens, so you always want to make sure your alerts aren't going to someone who left the company 5 months ago. Our most organized clients have an internal mailing group that goes to their engineering staff. This could also be one email per market or a PagerDuty service. As part of their onboarding process, the new engineering staff get added to that email group, and now they get all the alerting they need. Next, we recommend testing your alerts. If you remember our previous webinar, we had recommended testing your failovers. At the same time, you can test your alerting on all working, that all your alerts are working as expected. Doing this on an off hour gives you peace of mind that everything's working when the real issue happens. So to recap, there are a variety of ways you can monitor your streaming operations that will enable quicker response times and better understanding of issues after the fact. Those include stream down alerting, silence monitoring, metadata alerting, content QoS monitoring, and network monitoring. And that about does it for me here. Appreciate you guys sticking around. Sorry we took so long to get everything up and rolling, and that I was still having technical problems here on my side. I still can't figure out why it's not working, but at least we got it done. So do appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ralph. We appreciate your being with us. I think the idea of watching over your stream is as important as watching your over-the-air signal for both uptime and quality purposes. And I know, in fact, you guys, the StreamGuys, just worked with some Native American folks I know because their stream was not getting to their transmitter, and you could see it wasn't getting to you, although their IP people are saying, yes, we're working fine. The trouble's fine leaving here. So you have software, Ralph, and I take it there is well, there's similar things from Innovonics and some of the other manufacturers, but your program is integrated very closely into your streaming services.
Yes, that's correct.
Which is good. Ralph mentioned to me earlier that he may not be able to answer all your questions. If someone has a question, please unmute yourself, alternate A or space bar, let us know. And if he can't handle it, he'll pass it on and get back to you right away.
Yeah, I've got one for you. Does your monitoring software, is it aware of a situation where the buffer starts looping? So you've got audio, but it just keeps repeating itself?
That's a good question. I'm not aware that it does, but that was definitely something I can ask about, buffering issues.
Because we've got a situation where the automation system hangs for no apparent reason, but the buffer just keeps looping and looping and looping and looping.
Okay. Would you be able to send me an email? I can give you my email address right now if you like, or Barry can give it to you. Kind of depends, but I can give it to you now if you like.
Why don't you put it in the chat, and then I can copy it from the chat.
Okay, hang on. There we go.
Anyone else have a question they'd like to pose for Ralph on this idea of monitoring and alerting?
There we go.
Well, again, if you do have questions, you're welcome to call StreamGuys. You're welcome to send the note to me and I'll pass it on to them. You're welcome to jump up and down and yell. That won't get you very far, though.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can see we've got our number down there as well. My extension is 276. You can call that number if you like, but definitely, if anybody here does have any questions, like I was saying, I'm probably not the guy that you really need answering them. I can do the best I can, but I can definitely get you a definitive answers for any questions. If you don't mind shooting me the question at my email address, and I can get back to you later on today.
I know Tim wasn't available today, and you guys are all getting ready for maybe 3 weeks now to end.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see what's going on. I see you've unmuted yourself, Grady. You must be raring to go and tell us.
No,
good news.
I wanted to talk a little bit about StreamGuys because they do all of my client streaming at this point. I've become accustomed to the level of performance that they provide to the clients, and I like it. For the last 3 weeks or a month, they've been upgrading their entire system, and different clients are getting emails in different weeks saying, okay, this is the server that you're on, and we're going to be moving you to a different server with a different IP address. And if you're logging in with your encoder with a URL, you shouldn't have a problem. But if you're using an IP address, you need to change it to this other IP address, and we're going to do this on such and such a day at such and such a time. It's a very organized process. And it's also helping them identify occasional errors in their database, because one of my clients, StreamGuys, thought they were on a machine that they weren't on. And the one that client of mine is on actually got migrated about 10 days ago. So they had already been done and didn't even know it. So I really like you guys. You do a really good job for my people. And that's all I got to say on that.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. We all appreciate it. We're not big, you know. I mean, we're not a huge organization. I think we've got like 35 people, so that gives us a lot of flexibility, and we're pretty quick. And from what I understand, we definitely punch above our weight in the business. So it's been for me. It's been a terrific experience, you know, working here. Definitely appreciate it. People are great, and the customers are really nice, and because I'm used to dealing with some pretty crazy people sometimes, and it's really nice to have folks who actually appreciate what you're trying to do, you know. It's,
Okay, very good.